From Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. I am Adeshawa Josh. Our top stories tonight. Senate calls for redeployment of troops and modern equipment to Borno and Yobe states in response to renewed Boko Haram attacks. House of Representatives rejects bill seeking to rotate presidency among Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. And President Trump begins tour of Gulf states as he secures $600 billion commitment from Saudi Arabia to invest in the United States.
In business, Central Bank of Nigeria launches non-residence bank verification number to boost diaspora financial engagement.
And in sports, Chinese embassy seeks closer ties with National Sports Commission after Nigeria's inability to attend World Athletics Relays in China. Details in a moment.
Welcome everyone. Tonight begins right now. We begin tonight in the Federal Capital Territory, where the Senate has called on the military to redeploy more troops and advanced equipment to Borno and Yobe states, following a resurgence of Boko Haram attacks. The resolution was passed on Tuesday after Senate Chief Whip Mohammed Monguno reported that more than a dozen soldiers were killed in an ambush in Marte Town, Monguno local government area on Monday, May the 12th, followed by an assault early on Tuesday on Gadiram, the headquarters of the Ngazi local government area. He warned that insurgents are now using advanced technology, including drones and improvised explosive devices, posing a growing threat to both troops and civilians. The House of Representatives has rejected a bill seeking to approve the rotation of the offices of the President and Vice President of Nigeria among the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. The House also considered other bills, including one seeking to transfer the power to register and regulate political parties from the Independent National Electoral Commission to the Office of the Registrar General of Political Parties. News Central's correspondent Idong Joseph has the story.
Of the day's plenary session, 7 newly introduced constitutional amendment bills were scheduled for consideration and possible passage for the second reading. However, the bill seeking to amend the Constitution to approve a system of rotational presidency for the office of the President and Vice President amongst the 6 geopolitical zones of the country took center stage in the day's deliberations.
Indirectly, it's like in every political parties, there is an arrangement that yours will do this term, the South will do this term. So I believe this is something that we must not put in our constitution.
This is Nigeria that belongs to everybody. Everybody should be given the right to stand and contest for this office of the president at any point in time.
In my little experience in Nigeria, whenever you do this, every tribe in every state will also come out and say it's their turn.
For fairness, I believe we should allow all the zones to have fair treatment. I also believe that they are in Nigeria and they should be treated the same.
Even in this National Assembly, the speakership and the deputy speakership will zone. And so, Mr. Speaker, like Mr. Jesse said, and I also align with Clement, we have 6 geopolitical zones. And if this is entrenched in the Constitution, it will bring justice.
Following a heated debate with mixed reactions and divergent views, the bills were rejected by voice votes.
1 to 7 constitutional review. Go to the Committee on Constitutional Review for it to progress. Say aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it.
This prompts the chairman of the House Committee on Rules and Business to appeal for a reconsideration and individual assessment of the bills. However, attention was drawn to the House rule book, which put an end to further deliberation.
If we reject one bill and reject another, we might find one that we want to accept. So that's the appeal I'm making. I'm moving that we rescind that decision
I'll take the question per bill. It shall be out of order to attempt to reconsider any specific question upon which the House has come to a conclusion during the current session.
While this represents the second time a bill seeking the rotation of the presidency has been rejected by the House within 7 months, the House is now expected to reintroduce the 7 bills under a substantive motion, which would allow for separate votes on each. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
Now to the celebration of life and times of the leader of Pan-Niger Delta Forum, renowned Nigerian politician and statesman, late Pa Edwin Clark, who has now been laid to rest at his country home, Kiagbodo, an Ijaw community in Delta State. News Central correspondent Ostanazu was at the final ceremony and reports.
The final burial rites for the leader of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, a renowned Nigerian politician, the late Pa Edwin Clark, began with the Lion Estates at the Edwin Clark University in Kiagbodo, Borutu local government area of Delta State, South Nigeria. The body of Clark was thereafter conveyed to St. Paul's Anglican Church, Kiagbodo, for the funeral service. The officiating minister, the Archbishop of Denden Province, Most Reverend Cyril Butemu, in a sermon, amplified the virtues of late Pa Edwin Clark and urged Nigerian politicians to emulate his integrity, leadership style of fighting corruption and injustice.
Nigerians, a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches.
President Bola Tinubu, represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, former Nigeria's President Goodluck Jonathan, Senate President Senator Godswill Akpabio, the host Governor Sheriff Oborewori, paid glowing tributes to late Chief Clark.
Clark was a beacon of courage. He stood unwaveringly for his beliefs and fearlessly confronted injustice, even when it meant standing alone.
Edwin Clark his life was a testament to the power of conviction. He did not just hold office, he held principles. He did not just speak the truth at all times, he lived the truth at all times. Till the very end, Chief Clark stood firm, bearing the burden of the marginalized and the less privileged. In the Niger Delta and across the nation, even when the energy of patrons of his life, as well as younger ones, appeared low and drained, his voice remained loud and strong, always calling for justice, fairness, and national cohesion.
Pa Clark was a perfect example of a life lived in the service of humanity.
After the funeral service, his body was taken to his family burial site, where he was laid to rest. His children, family members, and others spoke on the life and times of the late Pa Edwin Clark.
He was very kind to me. He was somebody that grew me very well.
This is a man whose voice echo around and echo above the entire region of Niger Delta. He's a leader that we all rallied around.
So our prayer is for God to make another man like E.K. Clark, so that we'll have somebody who will speak truth to authority.
Attention thereafter shifted to the reception ground, where guests were entertained. In Kiagbodo for News Central, Austin Azu.
May his soul rest in peace. To legal matters now, the Federal High Court in Abuja has adjourned proceedings in the suit filed by suspended Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduaha for judgment. Justice Binta Nyako adjourned to June the 27th for ruling after hearing arguments on contempt allegations in the ongoing legal battle between Akpoti-Oduaha and the Nigerian Senate. News Central correspondent Joshua Imaraye has the report.
Legal face-off between suspended Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan and the Nigerian Senate resumed on Tuesday before Justice Binta Nyako. For the first time since the institution of the suit, the suspended Kogi Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan appeared in court. All parties moved to adopt their respective processes as senior advocate Michael Newman appeared for the plaintiff. On the defense side, Charles Yoila represented the clerk of the National Assembly. Paul Daudu, also senior advocate, stood for the Nigerian Senate, while Kehinde Ogunwumiju appeared for the president of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, and Valentine Ofia represented the chairman of the Senate Ethics Committee, Neda Imaswe. The proceedings commenced with counsel to the Senate President, Kehinde Ogunwumiju, urged the plaintiff to formally withdraw any applications no longer being pursued. Responding, Michael Newman, counsel to the suspended senator, noted that only relevant documents were retained. As the court took arguments on the substantive matter, Newman insisted that the suspended lawmaker Akpoti-Oduaghan had not violated the court no social media order. He urged the court to dismiss the objections raised by the defense and to grant the relief sought by the suspended senator, including a declaration that the Senate's decision on her suspension is null and void. The defense counsels, however, urged the court to strike out the suit for lack of jurisdiction, objecting that it was an internal affair of the Senate. They also argued that Akpoti-Oduaghan had flouted an earlier court order that barred media publications related to the case. Counsel to Akpabio asked the court to sanction the senator for a recent satirical apology, which they claim violates the court's gag order. After hearing all submissions, Justice Binta Nyako adjourned the matter to June 27 for judgment on the contempt charges and rulings on the substantive suit. In Abuja for the Central, I am Joshua Imalayi.
To the southeast of Nigeria, where some families in Umuekule community in Umuahia, South local government area of Abia State, are calling on the state government to urgently review the ongoing reconstruction of the Umuakwara road. They fear that if nothing is done, the project could lead to a major disaster in the future. News Center's correspondent Chinwe Ugele visited the area and now reports. Bring you that report after the short break. Do stay with us. Welcome back into more security stories. Security operatives in Plateau State have reaffirmed their commitment to peace and security across the state, working in close collaboration with key actors. This follows a series of recent criminal activities reported in parts of Wase, Kuanpan, and Barkin Ladi local government areas of the same state. News Center's Chizoba Aniowe reports.
The security situation in Plateau State appears to be fluctuating once again. From sporadic killings by so-called unknown gunmen to cases of kidnapping and cattle rustling, several local communities remain on edge. The recent kidnapping incident at a marketplace in Wase local government area has reignited concerns over rising insecurity. However, the efforts of troops from Operation Safe Haven and the 3 Armored Division of the Nigerian Army have been widely praised. They have made several arrests, neutralized unknown gun runners and kidnappers, and recovered various weapons and ammunition. The Plateau State Police Command also says ongoing efforts are being intensified to restore safety and stability.
Some of those cases that you are hearing of, arrests are being made. You know, we are getting people arrested. Just of recent, we arrested about some 6 cattle rustlers. They are in the state CID undergoing investigation. Other times we arrested kidnappers, more than I think 6 or 7 of them, who have been disturbing the Jos East axis. And by the grace of God, you can also tell that you have not been hearing much coming from that side when it comes to kidnapping. So a lot is going on.
It is important to know that the public also has a critical role to play in achieving sustainable peace in the state.
Most of those skirmishes that you have heard is as a result of sometimes some of our citizens not paying proper directive to lay down rules that are for their safeguard and for their safekeeping, and it is affecting our operations. We have been engaging them on stakeholders meeting to also heighten their security knowledge, get them enlightened on what to do proactively, that we ensure that this doesn't happen to them.
While every civilized society experiences some level of insecurity, this should never be an excuse for lawlessness and disorder in our communities. In Plateau State, for News Central, Chizoba Anyuri.
The sponsors of this year's Nigeria Prize for Science, NLNG, has officially handed over the entries for this year's competition to the Prize Advisory Board, paving the way for the next stage of the competition. News Central's Omolola Ololade has more. The 2025 Nigeria Prize for Science handover ceremony signals the end of entries for this year's competition and the beginning of the next stage of the competition. The entries for the 2025 cycle, which came through the Secretariat and managed by the sponsor, NLNG, are handed over to the chairman of the Prize Advisory Board, who will in turn hand over to the judges, who remain anonymous at this stage of the competition. The prize, according to the advisory board, remains the highest ever received since its inception in 2004. Besides its monetary reward, the prize remains a reward for excellence and impact.
The theme for the 2025 cycle in full reads Innovation in ICT, Artificial Intelligence, AI, and Digital Technologies for Development. And in that way, it fully encompasses and reflects a critical area of transformation in today's world. Digital technologies, as we know, are reshaping economies and societies. It's transforming nations, and we can see that in investing in AI and ICT, we are seeing exponential benefits.
The judges will look for the best from the 112 entries that demonstrate innovative ideas with the use of technology and artificial intelligence in solving problems across different sectors of Nigeria's economy, particularly in healthcare.
Is the research relevant to the theme? Okay, so it's about this theme. When you pass that, then what is the research about? What problem within that theme has been solved?
The research work must be very important and useful, and the impact is very important, because what is the use of giving so much money when Nigeria will not benefit from it? And the entry is open to Nigerians and non-Nigerians.
With $100,000 in cash to be won, the process, which started in February, remains a rigorous one and ends in September, when the winner will be announced. In Lagos, for News Central, Omolola Ololade. In a move to enhance the quality of education in Kano State, the State Governor, Abba Yusuf, has flagged off the distribution of instructional materials worth 2.8 billion naira to public schools across the state. The materials include laboratory equipment, sportswear and sport kits, books and laptop computers, all aimed at enhancing both academic and extracurricular activities in schools. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu has more.
After declaring a state of emergency in the education sector with an unprecedented allocation of 30% of its annual budget to education, the Kano State government says that it will not relax in its quest to improve the standard of education in the state. These education materials being distributed to schools is a major move by the state government to match words with actions, as it has vowed to improve in its level of schools enrollment, reducing the out-of-school population in Kano State.
We are also distributing exercise books, pencils, pens, sharpeners, rulers, and whiteboard markers amounting to about 700,000. We are also providing school records, which includes attendance register, admission register, time book, and the staff movement book, etc., etc.
There was clear excitement from the beneficiaries, including many school children, as they expressed their delight in the gesture from the state government.
You have settled the outstanding payment of about 2.5 billion naira in favor of 84 medical and a licensed student who graduated from Near East University.
The zonals are there, and at the various local government also we have education secretaries. So they are to ensure the judicial use of these instructional materials. So I assure you people that we are equal to the task in terms of supervision.
If somebody is tempted to divert, what is the penalty?
We are going to apply the extant civil service rules, to deal with the officers.
The governor, Abba Yusuf, reaffirmed his administration's commitment to restoring the glory of public education in the state. In Kano for News Central, Emmanuel Bagudu.
We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll take a look at stories outside our shores, including Donald Trump's tour of Gulf states. You stay with us. Welcome back. U.S. President Donald Trump has secured a $600 billion commitment from Saudi Arabia to invest in the United States. This is coming on the first day of his three-country tour of the Gulf states, which began in the oil power state where he was accorded a gala welcome. Trump punched the air as he emerged from Air Force One to be greeted by Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who later signed an agreement with the president in Riyadh on energy, defense, mining, and that's among others. The U.S. agreed to sell Saudi Arabia an arms package worth nearly $142 billion, according to a White House fact sheet. It is the largest defense cooperation agreement Washington has ever done. Now in Texas is Adeni Yukunu, an international journalist and policy analyst. With him is Alexander Von Rogen, an international affairs analyst in Toronto. They both join me now to look at President Trump's tour of the Gulf state and how far it has paid off with the Saudi Arabia government. Both of you gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I'll start with you, Alex. How do you assess Trump's trip in his agreement, the largest, biggest defense agreement, according to the White House, up to date?
Well, I think there's a trade-off in the Middle East. Trump is looking for wins in his negotiating skills. He's obviously got Saudi Arabia as an ally. I think the precursor to this meeting were the attacks against the Houthis in Yemen, which are also an enemy of Saudi Arabia. The U.S. military moved in there quickly, swiftly, took out a lot of leaders, and have now got a ceasefire going. They've also been giving accolades to MBS and given him credit for negotiating a lifting of the sanctions in Syria. Mm-hmm. Trump is promoting peace in the Middle East. I think he kind of blindsided Israel a little bit in these actions because he didn't include them in some of the negotiations, but he's putting America first. In dealing with the largest producer of oil in the world, he wants to keep the U.S. dollar as the petrol currency for the planet. And I think that will be one of the underlying benefits of this deal that hasn't been spoken about yet.
Adeni, let me bring you in. Do you agree with Alex about the fact that Israel was blindsided in this negotiations?
I do not really think that Israel has been blindsided. Let's understand that if we consider the post-Abrahamic Accord, Saudi Arabia has continued to be a lead intervention company, a lead intervention agency as far as that is concerned. And as a matter of fact, if you check the history of the support that Saudi Arabia has given to Palestinian people, it is unalloyed. But Saudi Arabia appears to be progressive and contemporary in its approach, and very pragmatic too, if I need to mention, when it comes to dealing with the issue in the Middle East. And as a matter of relevance for Saudi Arabia, you'd have observed that in recent times, most of the mediation conversations or talks have taken place there. But this one is also, quite frankly, about the U.S. Saudi Arabia strategic alliance. Don't forget, we're talking about moving away from non-oil sector investment. Over 600 billion achieved. You're talking tourism, you're talking entertainment, you're talking technology. So those indicators are very, very relevant as far as Saudi Arabia's economy is concerned. But don't also forget that there's a motivation here. The United Arab Emirates, particularly Dubai, appears to be the revolutionary Middle Eastern part of the world where things are changing so fast and drastically that Saudi Arabia do not want to be obliterated in the scheme of things in the contemporary time. So that has accounted for Saudi Arabia, which sees itself as the center of a global religion and also the center of advancement in technology and the likes of those areas. So right now, nobody has blindsided anybody. But of course, things are still evolving. Right. And the crystallization of these realities will result in better outcomes. I believe. Those are my opinions.
Alex, let me bring you in here. The White House calls this the largest defense sales agreement in history. But some analysts are saying that it is also a measure of a changing relationship between Washington and Riyadh. What do you make of this?
I think I've kind of emphasized that in my first statement. They're tying in a relationship here which is beneficial in ensuring the security of the Middle East. And Trump is advertising himself as pro-peace and taking affirmative action when it's necessary. He's opened the door for negotiations with Iran. That was more of my reference to blindsiding Israel because they weren't included in those talks that are going to be taking place in Turkey this week. Okay. At any rate, the trade-offs with the current situation with other global players, mainly China and Russia, is that the Middle East is, although a BRICS supporter, is now pro-U.S. as well. Right. So they're putting themselves in the center, which is strategically very smart. As I indicated earlier, Trump had nothing but accolades for MBS during his speech, and wants to be friends and needs the Middle Eastern support. His next meetings in the UAE, I think, are going to be indicative of a similar situation with investments in the U.S. coming out of Qatar, and also Abu Dhabi and Dubai.
Given the ongoing conflict in Gaza, how will Trump's discussions with Saudi leaders influence the prospect for a ceasefire or a lasting resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? I'll go with you first, Alex, before I get to Mr. Okun.
Well, of course, he was promoting peace. In his speech, the focus was kind of avoiding Gaza because it's a controversial subject. But he was promoting peace. So how that plays out in the next coming weeks or months, I think may be further discussed in Turkey.
Let me bring my Mr. Kunu in here. How is the $600 billion investment from Saudi Arabia and the $1.4 trillion from the UAE expected to impact the U.S. economy?
Well, you can't argue the position of the United States of America when we talk about technology. So I'd like to begin with tech and innovation, which is the first. Let's not forget real estate and such investments as infrastructure. We want to talk about defense and aerospace, and we want to talk about renewables. One of the things that Saudi Arabia is pushing to achieve, especially after the death of Khashoggi, is to align itself properly with world powers, and to also ensure that that ugly side of Khashoggi that almost destroyed the reputation of the current crown prince is actually avoided as much as possible. So you have to look at the vista provided regarding what is being done. So for the United States of America, especially when you're talking about what has happened to the U.S. economy based on the realities of Trump's position when it comes to other countries not taking advantage of the United States of America, you'd agree with me that Saudi Arabia leads into other channels of the Middle East, especially the oil-rich Gulf states, to enable the wealth the U.S. needs at this time. And that's why I mentioned earlier strategic policy alignment, strategic business partnership. So you're talking about tech and innovation, that is big. In the United States of America, real estate is also a very unarguable cash cow for the country. So you're looking at the areas that these things will already be deployed. So infrastructure will come in. Then also do not forget what has happened to the aviation industry regarding the cancellations of certain flights ordered by Boeing and the rest of it all. So looking in that direction, we know that Saudi Arabia has a lot of functional airlines, and you're talking about defense and aerospace. Don't forget Qatar is also in the picture. You're talking about other countries that are reputed for terrorist activities. You won't want to remove Iran from the picture when you're talking about such movement by the Saudi Arabian government and also other countries in the Gulf states regarding this investment. So for me, it's a future that holds a lot for the United States of America. And Trump appears to be demonstrating that he's a very smart person in terms of looking away from the regular strategic partners and to actually look in this direction. And it's obvious that there's readiness. If you look at the reception given to him, and of course the body language, for those of us that actually do what we call psychobiographical analysis, and you also want to look at the body language of the person with whom you're having alliances, you'd agree with me that the reception alone speaks volume of this direction. So I think it's a win for the U.S., and of course it's a win for Saudi Arabia.
Alex, I just want to quickly give context to my next question, which is on the Biden weapons deal has long been part of the partnership between the United States and Saudi Arabia. But in 2021, the Biden administration stopped the sale of offensive weapons over Riyadh's role in the destructive war that was unleashed in neighboring Yemen. Now we're seeing that that relationship is shifting under Trump. How will the U.S. Gulf Cooperation Council Summit address the ongoing conflict in Yemen and with this cooperation that we're seeing?
Well, I think actions speak louder than words. The U.S. Navy has been bombarding Yemen for the last few weeks, and there's now a ceasefire. The Houthis have agreed to back off. I think that timing was very strategic for this meeting in Saudi Arabia. The Democrats were taking a back seat to that. Trump's more affirmative action, not because he wants a war. He wanted to show that he can prevent a war and also to create safety in the Red Sea, which is Saudi depends on the Red Sea for its ports. So does North Africa. So does the Suez Canal for traffic from Asia through to Europe. He's taken credit for that, and actually we have to say he did quite a good job.
I'll go to Mr. Okun quickly. What would you say the implication of this, renewed diplomatic relations, if you like, between Gulf states and Iran, and how all of these will affect what's going on between the United States and Saudi Arabia?
One more enemy is too much to have, especially when you have challenges regarding your economy. One more friend is an advantage when you talk about strategic partnership and international policy and, of course, development. And I believe that if you look at the approach that Donald Trump has given, my other guest said something that is a very, very deliberate move. And actually, it appears as if people read the Times to have allowed such things as are happening in Yemen right now. You're talking about a ceasefire, looking at diplomacy rather than actually belligerency. You must agree with me that it is the right way to go. Do not forget that when they talked about the Pakistan-India bombings or the drone attacks a couple of days ago, Vice President J.D. Vance said something that people just glossed over. He said the U.S. is not directly involved. To paraphrase him, it tells you that the U.S. is actually particular about what President Donald Trump is going into the Middle East to do, and holding a position that either supports India or Pakistan may be detrimental to these laudable moves having been made by Donald Trump. So it's a very right move in the right direction. And I can tell you that this will go further to strengthen the U.S. economy. And even yesterday, the S&P went up, the Dow Jones went up. Every 3 levels of the U.S. stock exchange yesterday went up, indicative of the positivity that is coming following the discussions between China and, of course, the United States of America in terms of the tariff issues. So it is a very good move. It's a bold move. And I can tell you that implications are possible and positive in the foreseeable future.
One thing I know about international diplomacy is It is one thing today, it might be another thing tomorrow. Your final words, gentlemen. I'll go for Alex first.
Final words, I think the right moves are being made. Trump did advocate also. He believes in self-government. He's not looking to occupy countries the way previous regimes have done. By taking affirmative action to stop violence and aggression, taking out the, cutting off the head of the snake, so to speak, he's eliminated 82 terrorist leaders in the last, since January 20th. Through strategic strikes. Basically, he's telling the world, if you advocate violence and terrorism, we're going to find you, we're going to take you out, and then we're going to go away.
Right. Adeni, your final words.
Well, I think that the Donald Trump administration should cement every deal that is at his signature upon right now in marble. The reason I'm saying that is this. If countries understand that government is in continuum, some of the disruption done by an incoming administration will be avoided. So for me, this has brought the U.S. to a vantage position in terms of its diplomacy. And there was something you said before you threw the questions at my other friend there, which was diplomacy is one thing today, one other thing tomorrow. I think that every leadership part-time must understand that it is needless disrupting the good work that your predecessor has done. So I expect anybody who takes over from Donald Trump to consolidate the successes it's making so that the U.S. economy can be revamped for the best, and every other aligned partners in this policy framework would have to align properly. That's just how I see it, please.
Well, we would have to wait and see. Thank you so much, Adeni Kunu, who joined us from Texas, international journalist and policy analyst, and a very big thank you also to Alexandra von Bergen, an international affairs analyst from Toronto. Gentlemen, thank you. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll be talking money and the economy. Do stay with us. Time for some money talks with Lekon from our business desk. Lekon, what do we have? I hear we have new residence BVN for Nigerians in diaspora.
Well, yes, it's like a system that actually promotes financial inclusion and also helps in improving remittance inflows. I'll just tell you that during the course of business news. The Central Bank of Nigeria, in collaboration with the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System, NIPS, has launched the non-resident bank verification number to strengthen financial ties with the Nigerian diaspora. This initiative aims to simplify banking access for Nigerians abroad, enhance investment opportunities, and boost remittance flows. At the launch in Abuja, CBN Deputy Governor Mohammed Sani Abdullahi emphasized the NRBVN's role in promoting financial inclusion and economic resilience. With secure remote access to financial services, Nigerians abroad can open bank accounts and send remittances more efficiently, potentially transforming diaspora engagement and economic participation. Now, NVIDIA's shares rose 6% after announcing a deal to sell over 18,000 AI chips to Saudi Arabia's Humane for a 500 megawatt data center. In contrast, United Health Group's stock plummeted 16% following CEO Andrew Ritty's resignation and the withdrawal of its 2025 guidance due to rising medical costs. Coinbase's shares surged 22% as it prepares to join the S&P 500 index. Boeing's stock increased 3% after China lifted its ban on deliveries, while on Holding and First Solar, those stocks actually saw gains of 12% and 22%. Hertz Global Holdings, however, fell 15% after disappointing earnings. Now, talking about Nigerian equities market, at the end of today's trading session, we saw a little bit of appreciation. Now, the all-share index closed at 100,762.61, reflecting a positive movement with a 0.46% increase, a slight departure from what we tracked yesterday. Now, this uptick suggests a generally optimistic trading session driven by gradually building investor confidence across various sectors. Now, talking about market capitalization, it stood at 68.35 trillion naira, underscoring the significant value of listed companies on the exchange. And this figure, combined with the ASI's growth, indicates a stable and incrementally growing market environment, potentially supported by macroeconomic factors. We now end with sectoral performance, and for what we tracked, now we discovered that the banking sector recorded 0.20% in terms of growth, again actually reflecting cautious investor sentiment, and the insurance sector posted a strong 0.88% rise, also the highest among the sectors, I must say, actually showing some sort of investor confidence right here, too, driven by favorable financial results. Now, when you look at oil and gas, that's 0.83%, consumer goods 0.06%, and of course industrial goods 0.13%. Though consumer goods is quite weak in terms of growth, but then we see that this actually shows a positive trend in growth as we tracked. And that's all on business news. I am Lekon Obanjo. Do stay tuned for sports.
Thank you, Lekon. And now I have Udoka here with us with the latest in sports news. Udoka, what do we have?
Thank you very much. A whole lot happening across the world of sport, especially the Chinese Embassy and the National Sports Commission. You get all of these details shortly. Now, the Chinese government has intensified bilateral relationships with the Nigerian government through the National Sports Commission following the visa glitch that led to Team Nigeria withdrawing from the World Athletics Relays in Guangzhou, China. This was disclosed when officials of the Chinese Embassy paid a diplomatic visit to the leadership of the National Sports Commission. Cultural Counselor of the Chinese Embassy, Yang Zhenxing, expressed regrets over the visa challenges and pledged China's commitment to the country's vision for sports development. NSC Chairman Shehu Diko and the Director General Bukola Olopade received the Chinese delegation, describing the visa glitch as an accident, and reiterated the Commission's desire to build stronger sporting ties with China.
We are very, regret this happening. And I just told to Honorable Chairman that this time's visa issue was like traffic accident. Chinese side, as our we are the diplomat of Chinese government, we really didn't hope this happened. We don't hope Chinese side. We don't hope our friendship, brotherhood, start. Because of this issue.
Even on this, it was not the embassy in Abuja. The embassy in Abuja and the AFN worked hand in hand very closely to get the visas ready.
The one release is already done with, but there's always possibility to do more, and also we can make it even much better than what people have done with the one release. Glad to have, as we said, a dedicated table in your embassy, and here, so that at any time we are having these issues, you can easily get it done quickly.
In football, Edo Queens and Nasarawa Amazons claimed key victories in the match day 3 fixtures in the Nigerian Women's Football League Super 6 Championship in Ikenne, Ogun State. Defending champions Edo Queens defeated Niger Rattles 2-0 in the day's opening game, thanks to a rapid-fire brace from MMSN, and that was in the 20th and 22nd minutes. In another match, Nasarawa Amazons edged Rivers Angels 2-1, with Janat scoring twice in quick succession to maintain her red-hot form. Rivers responded late through a stunning free kick by Catherine Kenneth, but could not find an equalizer. In the day's final match, unbeaten Bayelsa Queens shot to the top of the standings with a 2-0 win over home side Remo Stars Ladies, thanks to first-half goals from Chinwe Chibuike and Safiat Idris. In tennis, Andy Murray will no longer be working as Novak Djokovic's coach. The decision, said to be by mutual agreement, means Murray will not be by Djokovic's side when he chases an 8th Wimbledon title in July. Djokovic, a 24-time Grand Slam champion, joined forces with Murray in November. Under Murray, the Serb reached the semi-finals of the Australian Open, ultimately retiring injured after losing the first set. The 37-year-old has had a difficult season by his high standards, losing his first match in 4 of his past 5 tournaments, as well as being beaten at the Miami Open final by 19-year-old Jakob Mensik. And that's a wrap on Sports Update. I am Udoka Njoko. The news continues shortly.
In entertainment news, I have with me Sam Dandy, who's about to tell me something about Shake Body hit Spotify global viral chart.
Let me start by saying Nigerian singer Skills is popping right now, like Genesis would say. His 2014 hit Shake Body, like you mentioned, is gone viral. I'll tell you why after this quick break.
All right.
In entertainment, Scales is back on the global stage. His 2014 hit, Shake Body, has gone viral on TikTok, landing the 98th spot on the global Spotify viral songs chart. Now, the Afrobeats jam has pushed Scales to over 2 million monthly Spotify listeners. He's trending in 30+ countries, including Spain, Italy, and France. Now, if you're wondering why the hype, I'll tell you after this short video. Well, let me start by saying Barcelona football star Lamine Yamal, who posted a viral TikTok dance to the song with his teammates. The clip has raked up over 180 million views, giving Shake Body a new life. Let's watch this. This is definitely major for Scales, how a song from 2014 could come back because of socials and the power of football. I mean, Odumodu's Declan Rice is also proof that truly once a sports star might post your music or enjoy it, it could be the next big hit.
I'm just Googling Lamine Yamal.
You had to Google him.
No, actually, I kind of know the guy. Isn't this...
He's young.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the young Ronaldo, not Ronaldo. Oh my God.
I don't watch football.
Oh my God.
I know.
But anyway, he's the hype of the moment. He's supposed to be transferring to Barcelona, I suppose. And yeah, oh my God.
It's the power
of that video.
Socials right now. I mean, that video has 180 million views. Now, a song from 2014 is now doing numbers, and that might bring him some money. That might bring him some more money.
It definitely will bring him some money. What do we have?
Well, speaking about superstars, Janet Jackson is set to receive the prestigious Icon Award at the 2025 American Music Awards set for May the 26th. Now, this marks her first televised performance since 2018, so it's going to be celebrating 50 years in the industry, and she's a pop icon. I mean, a pop legend. Sold 180 million records and won 11 AMAs herself. Now, this one's interesting because the 2001 hit, Someone to Call My Lover, is now also trending on TikTok. Somehow, TikTok might just be the new way to get your songs blowing up. Think about it. Not only is there to receive this iconic celebration, now her song is trending from 2001. What song are we expecting to come back at this point? I'm enjoying the trends.
She just gets better with age.
That is right.
Basically, she's great. I'm still obsessing over Lamine Yamal. I think I'm going to go look him up after. But yeah, he's currently with FC Barcelona, I suppose.
That is right. That is right. Yeah. I wish we had more, but that's all we can take on entertainment.
I know, right? There's just never enough time for entertainment news. But that's the news tonight. Before we go, here's a reminder of our top stories. Senate calls for redeployment of troops and modern equipment to Borno and Yobe states in response to renewed Boko Haram attacks. House of Representatives rejects bill seeking to rotate presidency among Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. And President Donald Trump begins tour of Gulf states as he secures $600 billion of course, commitment from Saudi Arabia to invest in the United States. We would like you to send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on your screen. Follow us on all social media platforms. We are at News Central TV. Of course, you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, AVO TV, and on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Adeshewa Josh. I'll see you on Wednesday.